YouTube! How's it going? Welcome to TPB's Tech-Bodge Emporium. How are you all doing? You good? Right, guys, yeah, we're going to talk storage today. I do want to mention that I do have a new channel starting. It will be starting on the 1st of May. You're right. Hey guys, look, I just want to quickly talk about something. You don't need to pay attention to this. You can skip through if you want. I'll section it in the video. But essentially, I'm going to start a new channel. It is a bit of a self-help channel, I suppose. Improving on myself. There's some banging going on outside, so I apologise for that if you're having to hear that. But essentially, this channel is going to be me dealing with, I suppose, my life battles. Anyone that's watched the channel, they'll know that I'm waiting on neck surgery. I've got some bone growth where it shouldn't be, and it's pressing on the nerves for the left-hand side of my body. That's kind of what's left me like this. Before this neck injury, I looked like this. That's no AI, that's just a freaking shot. Don't get me wrong, I did a little bit of smoothing down the bottom just to hide the fold because I'd lost so much weight. But yeah, a couple more shots. I don't necessarily need to get back to that, but this needs to go. So I'm going to be doing some extreme things, testing some extreme things without supplements. I don't feel you need supplements. I'm going to be doing this my own way, but basically I need to deal with the size, shape of this. This needs to be dealt with, so any updates on that will be coming through on that channel. This needs to be dealt with, hopefully, whilst I shed this, because we're going to deal with size first. We'll deal with shape afterwards because I can't really do much because of this, but maybe when I've lost all this size, I might be able to do something, you know? So we're going to do that, and then also we're going to be dealing with some of my addictions, smoking being one of them, both smoking, if you get me. It needs to go, but I can't be doing all of the stuff all at once. It's just not going to work. So we'll shed the weight first, then deal with hopefully this gets dealt with. I've been put through, we're waiting for new pre-op blood tests because obviously the last ones were out of date by the time now, but that's purely because of the way they work. They basically took my blood tests just in case there was a space show up, and it didn't show up. So I've got to wait for that again. Yes, the NHS is free, but we have to wait for it. It's one of those things, but it's done this to me. So we need to deal with the weight first, get some size down, and then maybe we can do a little bit for shape once we've got this off, because it's depressing. And then I'm hoping during all of that process, because we've got some shit to deal with up here, but I'm hoping during all that process that's going to be dealt with in amongst itself. But also I've also got caffeine. I drink so much coffee and energy drinks, it's friggin' insane. So I've also got caffeine as part of my issues. But I also want to get a my driving license back so that I can be out on the road, and then I can take you guys out and about around here. We go do stuff as soon as I've got this dealt with and I'm back on the road. So that's what that channel is going to be all about. Just basically my clawing my way back up into health, and I've got kids. I just need to last a little bit longer so that I can leave something behind for them, Anyways, should we get back to the video, yeah? Let's go. But basically that's just going to be a self-improvement channel where I'm basically going to be dealing with some of my addictions and some of my foibles, like my addiction to food, and also get in shape and get healthier again, but in my way. None of this waffle where you have to take 6 billion supplements and stuff. We're not doing that, but we're going to be doing some extreme stuff. Anyways, back to the point in hand. This is a tech channel. What am I talking about fat loss for? You have a very good point. So let's get back to it. We are today going to be talking about storage. Look, I bought these drives in a bulk a while ago. They were earmarked for other projects, but because of the current climate with the Ram and stuff, those projects are just, they can't happen. I can't afford to build them. I haven't got the money for it, unfortunately, so they're on hold. So I was going to get a different drive to upgrade my storage because I was going to do that. But I thought, do you know what? No, I'm just going to chuck this in. We all know what this is. I don't need to give them any advertisement. I don't think they deserve any level of advertisement. But this is going to be a upgrade for my gaming system. So because things are getting a bit chocker up there. But I'm also going to explain how you can possibly, we're going to look at ways that you could possibly free up a little bit of the storage in your system that you already have in there and improve the storage running and smoothness and snappiness fairly cheaply, but it doesn't involve this thing. I've kind of, this upgrade has been kind of put on hold because of the current climate, and I felt like it was a little bit insensitive for me to be like throwing a 2 terabyte M.2 2 terabyte Gen 4 NVMe just straight in my system like it's nothing. But it'll probably make you sick if you know how much I paid for this when I bought it. So yeah, we're gonna go on to that. The reason I want to talk about this is because a lot when it comes down to like having a snappier, quicker, better running system, a lot of it is just down to organization. And this is a DDR4 Z690 board. Unfortunately, it's only got 3 M.2 slots, but fortunately I only need 3. But the layout on this board is there's 2 Gen 4 slots and 1 Gen 3 slot. Now, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how I'm going to be organizing that. We're going to be talking about what I'm going to do for the old upgrade. And I'm going to try and put to rest some of the, I don't know, the sort of wives' tales about lanes and the worry there and cutting down on your GPU and stuff. It completely relies on how your board's laid out. But for example, this, I've got 3 slots in there. This is a 12th gen CPU. 12th gen CPU has got 20 lanes. That's 16x PCIe Gen 5 lanes, and it has 4 Gen 4 lanes. That's what's available to the CPU. Now, this particular layout of the board is the 16x PCIe Gen 5 goes straight to that GPU, doesn't pass go, doesn't collect 200 pounds, just goes straight there, right? So that doesn't get altered regardless of what drives I've got in. I've seen people put videos up saying, oh, you could have a couple of drives running and then that's going to steal lanes from your GPU and stuff, and maybe some setups will do that, like, but I can promise you that I've had a couple of drives active and I don't lose any slots off this GPU. That being said, the way this lays out is those 16 lanes go to the GPU. The other 4 PCIe Gen 4 lanes, they go through the chipset's controller, which is down on the board here. And basically what happens is it goes into that chipset, and that chipset organizes what it's going to do with those 4 lanes, right? So if you organize your stuff correctly, your system will run smoother. Like, for example, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be moving some stuff around, because the bottom slot, which is where the boot drive is at the moment, which is a 1 terabyte P3 or a P3 Plus, can't remember, that is a Gen 4 slot. This top slot here is a Gen 4 slot, and there's a slot underneath the GPU which is a Gen 3 slot. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be moving my boot drive to that Gen 3 slot so that I've got the 2 Gen 4 slots for the game drives. That makes things a little bit more organized. It also means that with that boot drive, it's a Gen 3 by 4, but that just means it's a Gen 4 by 2. So it will always mean that there's 2 slots available for the other 2. And I'm actually not sure. There's a possibility that the boot drive is a Gen 3 slot drive anyway. Anyways, I wanted to keep the 2 faster capable lanes for the Gen 4 game drives. So that's a 2TB P5 Plus. Anyone wondering about like DRAMless? Most of the drives that I've used are DRAMless, but funnily enough, that P5 Plus actually has a DRAM cache on it. But basically that one's going to be moving down to there to go underneath the motherboard's heatsink, and then I'm going to use one of those heatsinks on the P3, and the other one, because there's 2 stacked on top of each other, I'm going to just stick to the top of here, so I don't have to have crucial written on the front of my case when you look in there. But essentially, basically what the chipset controller does is it takes those 4 lanes of PCIe Gen 4 and it just uses where it needs to use it. So the boot drive, in essence, the boot drive really does most of its work when it just boots up. That's pretty much it. Past that, like if you organize everything rightly. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to move all of the my Steam games onto this drive. So this is going to become a dedicated Steam drive, and then the P5 Plus will house any games that I've got on Xbox or Epic or any of the other servers, basically any other gaming services. They will be saved to the P5 Plus, and this will be and Steam will be on this one. That will mean that all 3 of my drives will be under half full, which means I will get full speeds, and it makes if you organize your storage properly, it makes the PC run better, because it just genuinely likes organization when it comes to stuff like that. So that's what we're going to be doing with this drive. I know it's a little out of touch, but like I said, we all know what this is. I don't think that they deserve my advertisement of their name. So yeah, I've been an avid supporter of this company for years, and they just screw us over at the first possible opportunity, so they can go stuff it up their cheeks. But I've still got the drive, I'm not going to ignore it. It's a fast drive, 7100 megabytes per second. Fast drive. So that's going to be going in there. We're going to be doing a little bit of organization, which will then make things run a little smoother. Now, the second drive that we're going to be upgrading with, and something that I do want to talk to you about, is this. And for the children in the audience, this is a hard drive. No, I'm messing. I'm messing, guys. I'm messing. We all know it's a hard drive. Now, I know as well as you do that for the last few years, every YouTuber in the PC space has told you to avoid these like the plague unless you're building like a server or something. Now, am I here saying that these are good for gaming? No. You don't need these for gaming. No. We are past that. Look, they are limited by their connection, and they're also limited below their connection. Their connection is capable of what, 600 megabytes a second? Whereas anything, which is the SSD equivalent of this, which is SATA, anything else is, you're looking at quadrupling that, if not beyond, and that's like a slow M.2. So on motherboard storage is faster. It really is, and you don't want to be using one of these for gaming. I use this for long-term storage for the capture rig. So basically, all of the videos that I finish and upload to YouTube, I store on these, and we're almost full on the other one. That's why I've got this one, but I got this one a long time ago, and I just haven't got around to putting it in because it wasn't in desperate need. But the other one's looking a little full in there, so we're going to chuck that in. It's just 2 terabytes of storage. And look, the good thing about hard drives is longevity, guys. It's longevity. The best bit about using hard drives in general is if you keep these things spinning, they will go for years. Right? The biggest problem that you find with hard drives is either a component in there just literally gets worn out and doesn't work anymore, or they get like, is it data rot? They call it data rot, basically. But that's usually from them just sitting there doing nothing on a shelf with a load of data on there that then gets corrupted because it's just sat there doing nothing. Moisture and stuff gets in there. Whereas if you keep these things running, they tend to last, I don't want to say forever, because that would be a stupid statement, but they're the best thing for long-term storage. I think the only thing better than them is film, tape, but these are good. Like, in comparison to an SSD, you see, like an SSD, either these or the little tablets that go into a SATA connection, all of them have a finite amount of transfers that they can do before they're dead. There's no looking after them. Like, they're only going to be able to do that many times. They have a finite end to them. Whereas these, essentially, your guess is as good as mine. Like, you keep this thing spinning, keep it flat, you keep it like either flat that way or flat that way, and you keep it spinning, and it's going to just keep going. Now, that being said, it is slow storage in comparison to storage you put on your system, and it's not something that I would tell you to use for like putting games on or anything. However, I think every system could benefit from one of these, and not specifically one of these, just a hard drive in general. The hard drives I would tell you to get, let me explain. Right, so the hard drive I would tell you to get at the minute to save yourself a bit of money are the laptop replacements. So the 2.5 inch hard drives. So they're the size of a SSD tablet, you know, the tablet SSD. They're the size of that. 2.5 inch hard drive. You can pick one up with 500 gigabytes for like 20 quid, 25 quid brand new. You could probably pick up a used one for like 12 quid. And it's because no one's really looking at that, the 2.5 inch size, and no one's really looking at 500 gigabytes. So they're kind of going under the radar. Now, 500 gigabytes is not a huge amount of storage, but for what I'm suggesting you possibly use it for, I'm probably going to do it with the gaming system. As it stands, because I've got the two PCs there, not exactly a huge necessity, because I tend to use the capture rig for all the stuff that I would be telling you to use this for. But I'm probably going to chuck a 2.5 inch into there, so stay tuned. I'll probably have that throw that in as a video. But basically, what I'm saying to you is, if you go out, buy yourself a 2.5 inch 500 gig hard drive and put it into your system, and then you go into your system and you it takes a little bit of organization, but basically you make sure that all music, videos and documents save to the hard drive. Now, it might only be 500 gigabytes, but 500 gigabytes is a lot of videos and a lot of music and a lot of basic video recordings, you know, like any sort of like episodes or just something that you've got recorded. Just, look, 500 gigabytes is a lot of videos, music and documents. It's a lot of them. But what it is it's 500 gigabytes that you've no longer got spread across your boot drive and your game drive. Like, you can tell me that there's no point, but for like 25 quid, brand new, you can get a 2.5 inch, 500 gigabyte drive, and that means that 500 gigabytes of the stuff on your PC will just be gone. It will just be there. Like, that means that 500 gigabytes of the storage that if you don't put one in is on your other drives, which means in part whatever space you free up on the other drives that you're going to dump onto your hard drive, that will then become space for you to throw new games on. Do you get me? Now, I hear what you're all saying. Everyone's told you that hard drives are slow and pointless and there's no point using them or any of that. And do you know what? Yeah, to a point, For like gaming and stuff, no, you don't want to use hard drives for gaming. However, let me just pull up a hard drive. I've got one in here. Obviously, it's got all the videos that I've already saved into here. We'll just open. Right. If I pull up this PC, so you can already see it's full. So on here, I've got a 500GB scrub drive, which is everything that I record or capture or anything like that gets dumped onto the dump and scrub drive, and I edit off that drive. That drive then gets cleared regularly, and then I keep my boot drive pretty much half full. I don't like it to get much fuller than that, because that's the way you keep the advertised speeds on your drives. So this 7100 is only ever going to give me 7100 up to about halfway through the drive. After that, it will slow down a little bit, because it doesn't have as much drive to go grab your stuff. So just imagine, think of it as a library full of data, a whole load of librarians you've got working for you, like 7,100 librarians you've got working for you. Well, if half of those librarians have got both arms completely full of stuff, they can't go grab your shit, can they? So it kind of works in the same sort of way, very dumbed down version. But yeah, like my boot drive is half full, never really gets much more than that. All I keep on the boot drive is the boot, the OS, and any sort of apps. You know, like any sort of apps that I want to use, that I have on the system that aren't game related as such. Ooh, I don't have anything game related over this side. Anyways, let me just open up the hard drive. Oh, that's me opening that hard drive. You see how slow it was? Yeah. So let me just, we'll have a look at here, because obviously we've got a load of videos here, but we've got some heavy videos. Like, for example, this colors video, this is 27.2 gigabytes of a video. Right, so that's almost a 30GB video. Let's see how quick it takes. This is real time on how responsive a 7200 RPM Seagate Barracuda drive will be when you use it. Double click, and there you go. That's that what you just see there, that's the longest wait that you have to do. And I'll do this now just to show you that when it comes to, look, it's instant pretty much. Like, I can scrub through this video, which is 30GB, and I know that like the game footage bits are really hard, they are heavy duty in terms of what they're loading in, and it's having no problems with it at all. So for music and video playback and any data, stuff like that, yeah, these are freaking awesome for it. And they also keep all of that stuff completely off your system. Remember, this thing's connected by a cable. Like, so this is tucked away in the back of your PC somewhere usually. Like, this is connected by a cable. So when you're not viewing videos and you're not looking at your documents or listening to music, this is just gonna just sit doing, you know, keeping itself ticked over, but doing nothing else. Very, very little power draw, and it's just gonna sit there waiting. And then when you want music and stuff, if you're listening to music, that's not going to be part of the complication. It's like I was saying, you know, with organizing this stuff, like having a SATA drive with your music and your videos and stuff on means that essentially that uses like a lane, I think, PCIe, if not a completely different route, but I'm pretty sure it uses one lane on SATA. But essentially it means that when you put music on and stuff, you're not going to be going to grab that from another part of your, from a game drive and stuff. Like, this is just going to spin along. It'll just probably cache the whole song up in like next to no time, and you'll just be running off the cache, which is very low draw, and you won't get any sort of complications. Whereas if you don't organize your storage in a sense, like I said, this is going to become my Steam drive, the other drive is going to be for the other game stuff, and my boot drive is for the OS and apps. If you don't organise your stuff like that, and you just put things here, and you put stuff there, and stuff here, your PC is going to try and fire up all of your drives at the same time, and that is when you're going to start running into complications. I always find it a little weird that on AMD they actually give you better PCIe support. It's got more lanes, and I'm pretty sure AM5 pretty much all the boards are PCIe Gen 5 slots. So it does give you more lanes over there, and they're all Gen 5. But the thing that confuses me with AMD is why don't they offer you more M.2 slots on the boards? Because consistently, board to board, you could get a board from the manufacturer on Intel's side and a board from the same manufacturer with the same board name, and it's the same freaking motherboard, just different sockets. And 8 times out of 10, the Intel board will have more M.2 slots than the AMD board, even though the AMD CPUs have more lanes, which it bamboozles me. But essentially I've got a different board in there, which is my DDR5 board. That's got a better array of drives. It's got 4 slots, which is 3 Gen 4 slots and 1 Gen 5 slot. They're a better layout, but I'm waiting on for. I'm not buying DDR5 at the price that they think that they should be charging for it. No. Like, I could deal with them being like 200 quid for 32 gigs. I could deal with that. That's still 80 quid more than you were selling them for before. I could deal with that. But fucking 400 quid, you can fuck off. So we're using this board. I've got enough slots on there, and like I said, putting the boot drive on the Gen 3 slot. I personally don't care that my PC might take another 5 seconds to boot up. I would rather have quicker access to the game drives rather than quicker access to the boot drive, if you get what I mean. Like, if I've got, for a gaming PC, I would put the boot drive in the slowest slot that's available if I need to fill all the slots and I want the storage for gaming. That's why I'm doing it the way I am. But as I said, when I go to fire up a Steam game in the near future, once this is in there and it's all set up and everything's organised, when I go to fire up a Steam game, the PC's going to know, you just open this one. Just open this one, you don't need to worry about the other ones, just this one. And the same goes for all the other game places. Once it figure out where I've put everything, it'll go in there. Don't leave ghost files from other things, otherwise it wants to open all of your drives to see where everything is. So my advice is that first and foremost, you want to organize your storage. For example, like if you were on a PS5, I've said this before, if you're on a PS5 and you've upgraded your storage, make sure you've organized your storage, otherwise you don't get the benefit. Once you've done that, you move all of your games off your main drive, off the main drive, and put them all onto the game drive. And make sure that the only things that are left on the game, on the OS drive, the standard drive in the PS5, exactly like a PC, if you make sure that the only thing that's on there is the OS and any sort of apps, like YouTube or anything like that, any sort of apps like that, leave them on the on the onboard drive, put all of your games onto the drive you've added, and I promise you, your PS5 will boot faster, it will load faster, and you're just going to have a much quicker thing in general. Right, okay guys, let's get this storage in here. So first, we're going to be putting the hard drive in because it's got the least steps, and it's the only one that actually requires making space. So we're just going to make that so that it's nice and easy to turn. Because I'm not going to lie, I'm not saying that this is a small PC in any way, shape or form, but there is 2 PCs in here. Right, okay, so what I've done is just like these, I've used these rubbers that come with cases for hard drives. I've just stuffed them into here, and I'm just going to screw the hard drive in basically the opposite way around to this one, and we'll connect up the cables and stuff. I'll show you it once it's done, but it should be right. Okay, so that's in. We've got it all cabled up. It was a little bit snug here, but it's in. As you can see, we are starting to run out of space back here. Like I said, I could put another one on top of the power supply if I wanted to. There is just about enough space in there. Don't worry, the power supplies can breathe, but I am going to swap this out for the shorter ATX power supply. I mean, that 850, yeah, it's EVGA, but it was used. I bought it used a couple of years ago, but I feel like there's no point having that huge power supply in there just to power a 150 watt rig. Like, what's the freaking point? Like 850 watts for 150 watt, there won't be any efficiency there, not at gold. So yeah, we're going to be swapping that power supply out. Anyways, should we get around the other side and hit the M.2? We've got to get this GPU out, and I'm going to give it a quick clean in there as well. Right, okay guys, so I fired up the first rig. Let me just get the other one running, and we'll get these drives see an allocated disk here. So you go on here. So you gotta initialize it. Sometimes you can do that in the boot, in the BIOS if you want to, but it will just automatically go to do it if it senses a new one. So you just go new simple volume, next, next. And we have a new drive. There we go. So what I'm then going to do, now we've got a new drive, is I am going to open up Steam. I'm just going to do a little bit of moving around. Let me just quickly open up settings as well, so that I can, oh, they've changed that, so that I can bring up the storage so you can see what as you can see here, at the minute, the boot drive is has only got 160 gigabytes free, and my game drive is at 1.4 terabytes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move Steam off this drive and put it solely on this, just Steam. So what I need to do is I need to come into Steam. Yeah, so you come into storage in here. Add a drive. Not that one, that one. Add that, so it'll create a volume for itself on the new drive. And that should be able to just click all of these. I should be able to just move all of those straight over. Right, so whilst that's doing that, I'll show you. It's the exact same process over here. Right, as you can see, disk management does the exact same thing. As soon as you open it up, it detects that there's not a drive there. Just stay on this GPT. I've not ever had an issue with that. And then it will create a new space. There's an allocated there. You right click on it, new simple volume, and you just click next. D drive. And we've got a disk there now. Now, unlike on the other side, I won't be moving stuff about, but so you can see, we'll just open this. As you can see, we've got the new volume there. If you want to rename it, you can go to properties, and you just put there long-term 2, apply. It'll ask you, just click continue. Okay, it'll ask you, and then I'm going to change that one to long-term 1. It's really that easy. You can change your name at any time. So now obviously I've got Windows on the boot drive, long-term 1, long-term 2, dump and scrub. I'll probably start saving now to long-term 2 and keep that little bit of freedom, because that's the cache and a little bit extra. So it'll give you a little bit of freedom in there, but they're going to stay plugged in. So we've got what, 4 terabytes of long-term storage, a 500 gig dump and scrub drive, and a 1 terabyte boot drive. And as you can see, the boot drive staying half full. I try to keep it under there, and it's just going to run at its speeds. But yeah, that's really that. The more organisation is going to be happening over on this side, but Steam's still moving games over, so I just gotta wait for that to finish. Right, okay guys, so I've organised everything. So basically over here we've got the boot and app drive, games with the Epic. I'll open that up. It's just got Xbox, Epic Games, a few other things in there. And then over here we have just got the Steam library. So that is just a Steam drive, but it means that all of my drives are split up nicely. The boot drive's got loads of space on it, so the system will boot up a little bit snappier and stuff. And because of obviously bifurcation with the PCIe lanes, having things separated and organized where they're supposed to be, I promise you, your PC will genuinely thank you for this. I mean, now my PC, there is a few weird caveats. Obviously, everything with Steam, you have to verify the files once you've passed them over. And really weirdly, with Xbox, once you've moved them through the Xbox app, sometimes you need to like start the game for the Xbox app to actually realize it's there. Now, don't get me wrong, a system restart might actually completely fix that, but as it stands, that's what I had to do. But now any games that I download from Epic or Xbox or anything like that will go onto this drive here. and anything from Steam will go on to the Steam drive. And it means that everything's separate. And like I said, as you can see, I've got like a terabyte's worth of games on Steam. So we've got a good 850 gigs free on that 1.8 available. So it's, you know, it's kind of half full. Same with the games drive, that's kind of half full, and that boot drive is way under half full. And then over on the capture rig, slightly different setup because I'm not gaming on it. There's a lot more apps, as you can see. There's like 516 gigabit byte free instead of the 710 over here. So I do use more apps and stuff on the capture rig. But that's like half full, so that's going to be quite nice and snappy. And then obviously we've got the long-term storage 1 and 2. I've got another 2 terabytes to play with whilst I'm uploading this video. This video right here will be the first one to go on to long-term 2. And then obviously I've got my dump and scrub drive. But as I said to you guys, if you want to just free up a little bit of space for not a lot of money, you can pick up, let me just pull one up. Right, okay, so these are refurbished. There's refurbished prices. I mean, you could get real slow drives like this Toshiba for like £6. But even like a new one, like what's that, Seagate? 2.5 inch Seagate 500 gig hard drive. Brand new is like £40 there, but you can always find a deal. There's always a deal on stuff like that. Like you've got Toshiba one there for £42, £26. Like the thing is, as long as you've got a half decent drive, you're not going to have too much of an issue. And if you're in the UK, you've got obviously all the cassette SSDs. Now you could use an SSD if you wanted to, but it kind of takes away from the whole point. But even here, like it's not going to be a super fast drive, this Toshiba. It's probably got quite slow running speeds. I don't know what its pass through is. 54 RPM, 5400 RPM, so it's not the slowest, but £15 for a 1 terabyte 2.5 inch drive. Now, like I said to you, these 2.5 inch drives are designed for like to go in laptops and stuff, but they use the same SATA connector, so it doesn't matter where you put them really. You've got Samsung here, another Samsung 1 terabyte for £15. Again, yeah, these are used drives. But again, look, that is a really good 2.5 inch SATA drive for £18. That's a Seagate Barracuda 1 terabyte, 7200 RPM. So it's the faster end of hard drive performance. Barracudas are a decent drive, and for £18, you can slap another terabyte into your build. Now, again, I'm not telling you to use a hard drive for gaming, but having a hard drive in your system so that you can dump all of your music and your videos and your documents on allows you to free up that same space in your system for stuff like games and other stuff. Maybe if there's a game that you don't play huge amounts of time, you could probably just go dump it on there for a bit. But personally, I would say that most rigs would benefit from having like a solid long-term storage, you know, like solid long-term storage. Now the one thing I found with the 2.5 inch SATA drives over the 3.5 inch SATA drives is they seem to be a bit more stable, because if you think about them, they're in a laptop, whereas a normal hard drive, when you put a hard drive in your system, you need to keep it either horizontal or vertical. Like none of these angled stuff, so which is fine, but if you think about it, like a laptop doesn't really do that. Do you know what I mean? So they must be a little bit tougher than the 3.5 inches. But either way, no one's really wanting the 2.5 inch drives. No one's really wanting the 500 or the 1 terabyte 2.5 inch drives. So you can pick them up for really not a lot of money. Like that Seagate Barracuda for £18. And don't forget, everything in CEX comes with a 5-year warranty. So personally, I don't think that this is a bad way about going about it. Because if you think about it, If you're just plugging something in to put videos and music and stuff on, you've got a crucial drive there, 1 terabyte, 85 quid. And that's not that much faster than that hard drive. And that's 18 quid. So it kind of makes sense. And I've told you before, I'll open it up again. Told you before, there's a brief moment when you first open up a hard drive that it's going to be a bit slower, right? But we will go back to that video because it's massive. Where are you? Colors, 27.2. There's a video open. I can just scrub through it, no drama. You might have to wait like maybe 2 more seconds when the file's opening. But hard drives themselves are really quite good for stuff like watching movies off or listening to music off. So I would recommend, if you were looking for a way to just free up a little bit of space with the stuff that you don't really use on a massive basis, or if you are someone who has a lot of music on their build, you have a lot of music on your system and it's looking a little shy on your gaming side for storage, get yourself a cheap hard drive, 2.5 inch hard drive, slot it in, plug it in, and away you go. You can slap all of your music and your videos and stuff on there, and that keeps it off the other stuff. Is it perfect in a perfect world? No. But I do think every PC, every gaming rig, every rig of any kind could benefit from a hard drive. And like I said, these 2.5 inch SATA drives, these 2.5 inch hard drives, they are not expensive at all. I pulled up one on Amazon for 40 odd quid, but I found basically the same drive on eBay for 25 quid, and that was new. Like I said, this is used, but it comes with a 5-year warranty. And it's probably going to last you 5 years, to be honest. So yeah, this is definitely a route I would recommend. Get yourself a little 2.5 inch hard drive. I'm probably going to do it for the gaming rig on the front, just to give yourself a little bit of storage that's off the rest of your rig, off your gaming drive, off your boot drive, and is easily accessible for the system. Anyways, yeah, so I'm super happy with the setup. I've got plenty of storage to go over here now on the capture rig, plenty. I have plenty of storage to work with over here. I've also got plenty of storage to still work with over here, but as I said, I like to try and keep, when these drives are like half full like this, you're gonna still get pretty much its advertised, as close to its advertised speed. Same with the boot drive there, and the same with the Steam drive there. The more full you get, the slower the drive gets, especially after about halfway. So try and keep your drives down a little bit. As I said, buy yourself a 2.5 inch hard drive. They're not very expensive. You can get like a 1 terabyte 500 gig for like, 30 quid, 20, 30 quid. If you're gonna buy used, you could buy one for like 15 quid, a 1 terabyte. And that is just going to give you, it's almost external storage for your music and your videos and stuff. But again, like I said, you just got to think of how much space that's going to save you on your other drives. So like I said, just organize everything. I have the boot drive to just have the OS and applications. That's it. That's all I have on there. Apart from the game launchers, I try and put the game launchers on the drive that the games are on with. So the Epic launcher is on this drive. Steam launcher is on the Steam drive. The only one I couldn't do is the Xbox. It just will not separate itself from the boot, from the OS drive. Microsoft for you, eh? I just need to quickly add, guys, after firing up the Epic launcher, it required to be on the boot drive, and also Easy Anti-Cheat requires to be on the boot drive. So yeah, that just like Xbox, it's annoying. However, I will say the one thing that Epic Launcher does that none of the others seem to do is as soon as you fired up that game that you've fired up from Epic Launcher, you can actually close the launcher. As soon as a game is fired up, you can close the launcher and recoup some of that CPU usage or whatever. But you can do that. Anyway, back to the video. Just wanted to clear that up. Anyways, I'm super happy with it. Let me know what you think. Do you organise your storage? Do you? Do you really though? The last thing you want is, you know, say your Steam having some games on one drive and some games on another drive, and maybe a few on another drive, because as I said, that bifurcation is a real thing. I have to deal with this in here because obviously those other 4 lanes are just being chopped up by the motherboard's controller to allow the storage to work properly. But fortunately on this particular motherboard, it doesn't seem to affect the by 16 PCIe 5 Gen 5 slot at all. It stays at 16x no matter what I'm doing. Theoretically, if there was bifurcation happening, because obviously using the boot drive and the Steam drive, when I fire up a Steam game, theoretically there should be some bifurcation happening, but there isn't. I kept GPU Z up and it stayed at 16x PCIe Gen 5. So that slot doesn't seem to be affected in any way by the storage, because I think like I said, on this motherboard, I think the storage goes through the controller. Even though there's a top slot there that should be directly to the CPU, I don't think it is. I think all of the storage comes through the controller, and then that controller just organizes stuff. So that's kind of convenient for me. But everything's in there, everything seems to be super happy. They don't seem to, I'm not getting any warning signs that things are getting hot or anything like that. So yeah, I'm happy. What's not to be happy about? So yeah, I will see you in the next one, guys. Thanks for watching. And yeah, tell me what you think. Like I said, do you organise your storage? Are you going to go and organise your storage? I would like to point this out as well. If you've got a PS5 and you're upgrading your storage on your PS5, once you've done it, make sure that you transfer all of your games and stuff from the main drive in the PlayStation to your new drive. Because if you don't, you won't see the benefits of those speeds. You also want to make sure that all your games are saving to the new drive, and you want to keep that boot drive, the OS drive, the main drive on the PlayStation, you want to keep that sort of under half full, in the same way that I do with the boot drive here. And I promise you that console will feel so much snappier. It will fire up games so much quicker. So yeah, that's my recommendations for you guys. Let me know what you think. As I said, do you organise your storage? Are you going to organise your storage? You're going to give this a go? I can honestly say, if you organise stuff so you've got sort of like half full drives and stuff, everything's going to feel a little snappier. If you organise stuff so that they're in specific places for specific things, like I said, I've got a Steam drive, the other games go on the other drive, and this is just boots and apps. I promise you, your PC will thank you for that. So yeah, anyways, I will see you in the next one, guys. Thanks for watching. Love you, bye. Like and subscribe. Thank you.